So where you can find all about framework. So if you go to labels, there are labels in our blog, right? Under that, you can find hybrid framework. You can see here hybrid framework utils. These are the two parts which covers complete framework design, framework theory part, everything. So let's go and first discuss on the hybrid framework. So what is a framework, first of all? So till now we have written test cases, normal using main method initially, then we used JUnit, then we have written test cases in test.ng format, right? But what is a framework? A framework is nothing but a set of guidelines and instructions, so can be followed, and you will arrange your code in a proper folder structures. So that's a framework. So that if you follow these rules and instructions, there will be advantages. So there are many advantages, and framework will give you that advantage. So what are the advantages is, if you write if you design the framework or you are working in a framework, you will get the reusability of the code. You don't need to repeat, basically. That's one advantage of the framework. So, for example, one element is, you want to use multiple times. You will identify only one time, and that will be reused in many places. So that if the change happens tomorrow, and you will change in one file only, it will reflect in all other files. Because you are not using the value, you are going to use the reference of that object identification in other classes. So that's the reason this is going to be very reusability, and maintenance is very easy. This kind of advantages are there with a framework, and maintenance is very easy. So once upon a time, when I was following one of the framework, that was given a lot of drawbacks, and then we overcome with following proper page object model concept. So that's a page object model concept which will give us proper so maintenance is very easy. Otherwise you have to modify in multiple places. That's going to be a burden. One element is fine, but multiple elements are there, it's going to be a bigger problem. And also it provides the reports. So any framework gives the reports, and also logs, screenshots, and any technical and non-technical users easily can work on the framework, because you don't need to write much code. So less code, because already ready-made methods will be there on top of the Selenium methods. Again, they will wrap up new methods. Anywhere you go, first you have to look for the utility classes. So what are the reusable methods are there? Those methods you have to use in your test cases. So they're not directly, WebDriver methods. So make sure you use them, all those methods. So that's the advantage of framework. So what are different type of frameworks we have in the market? So we have a data-driven framework, keyword-driven framework, hybrid framework, BDD Cucumber approach, BDD Cucumber framework, so behavior-driven development framework. And these are the famous frameworks in the market. And you can tell hybrid framework I'm using or BDD framework I'm using. So BDD, once I'll introduce BDD, I think, I'm not sure whether you attended previous classes. So BDD is one of the widely used framework nowadays also. If they are decided to use Selenium, along with, if they want APIs also need to automate, that's the one. So very so framework features. So what is a hybrid framework? So hybrid framework is nothing but it's a combination of test ng, data driven or keyword driven, and a page object model design pattern. So you must use the test ng or JUnit. Anyone you have to use. So test ng is common. So if you are using Selenium, test ng is mandatory. Or in that, if you have more data, you have to repeat the data for particular scenarios with a different sets of data. You are going to use data driven. You'll mix that in the hybrid framework itself. So that's data driven. And keyword driven is something, every function has a one keyword that will be mentioned in the Excel sheet. From there you will control. From there you will control. You want to run or you don't want to run. All this toggling will happen in the Excel sheet only. So all the functions will be mentioned in the Excel sheet. Some keyword name, method name is your keyword name. Then yes or no toggle, runnable or not. That is the keyword driven. And so testing, why you will use, already, to design the test cases. To design the test case using different annotations. So at the test, then at the before class, at the before suit, before test, before method, at the test, at the data provider, at the parameters. All these annotations will be available in the hybrid framework. So basically, a data driven is used to test the same scenario with multiple sets of data. That's a data driven. So page object model is another one. This is the very important concept. So what is page object model design pattern? Say design pattern in Selenium frameworks. Basically, you can arrange your page elements in a proper proper page class. So every page wise one page class will be there. In that page class, you will organize the elements using page object model design pattern. There are two types of page object model design pattern. We'll see that one by one. So page object model design pattern is also known as a POM. So which is used to design Selenium. In Selenium, the page objects. Basically, you can create the page object repository. The object repository. Object repository means all the objects. What are mean by objects? Web elements, page objects, page elements. Page objects are page elements. So basically, it's a design pattern in Selenium that creates an object repository for storing all web elements. That means you can store that page related web elements in the Java page class. For every page, one Java class you will create. That class inside, you can store all the elements you are going to use in your test cases. So which are all the elements available in that page? Only you are using them for your testing, then those you will identify and place them. So how you will identify page elements? How will you identify page elements?
Locators, using locators.
Using locators. Locators concept. So that locator concept you will use. And so it is page object model is very useful in reducing the code duplication and improve the test case coverage, and test case maintenance is very easy. These two are the advantages of the page object model. So suppose you have each page wise. So you're going to create one Java class file, and each class file will contain only that corresponding web page elements and the respective methods. The first you will identify the elements below, you will write the respective methods of that element. So what action you want to do on that element? Click, typing, verification. So what you want to do on that element? So that action method you will write below once you identify the web elements. So using these elements, so testers can perform operations on the website under test. So that's the page object model. What is page object model? If anybody asks you, this is the definition you have to give. And advantages means, so let's discuss one by one. 3 advantages are there. So helps with the easy maintenance. So give more, that heading you give and give the explanation. So explanation is this one. So what will happen here? Easy maintenance. What is meant by easy maintenance? So you understood yesterday, so one element we modified and we changed it in multiple places, same XPath. Instead of that changing in multiple places, you will modify only one place here. And then the element reference you will use in the methods. So that only method you will call in the whatever in the test case classes or different classes. So the change happens, you don't need to modify all other classes, only page class you will modify. That's a easy maintenance, right? That's what the meaning of easy maintenance means. Helps with the reusing the code. So every screen is, independent. Every screen is independent. And if you use the form, right, page object model design pattern. So for each screen, that elements, that methods will be there. And the same methods and elements you can reuse anywhere in other classes also. That's helps with reusing the code. Okay. So there is no need to rewrite the code again. So you can save the time and effort so by following this approach. And readability and reliability of the scripts. So when all screens have independent Java files, one can easily understand, right? One can easily identify and understand, okay, this class belongs to which page and what methods are there. You will easily understand and readable. And also you can particularly call which action you want. You go to that page object, you create an object for that page and you can call anywhere. So that's the readability, reusability of the scripts all are available. So these are the 3 points of page object model. This is one of the very famous interview question, this one. What is page object model and what are the advantages of that? Okay. Okay, so how we can implement the page object model? So there are two ways you can implement. One is plain page object model, and second one is using page factory class. Plain page object model and page factory class. Any one of them you can use. Okay, any one of them you can use. Plain page object model is so this is the one: public, static, final. By is the data type. By is data type is a class. Here by is a class. So the class is one of the data type. I already told you, and element name equal to by dot locator and locator value. So this one is returning a by type element, and that element you identify all the elements like this, and then on these elements you perform the action with the methods. So respective methods developed for above elements, like doing actions on the elements, verifying whether the element is present in the page or not, page title is present or not. So this is all developed using WebDriver methods. So the methods, so you can develop the methods, WebDriver methods. So if you want to perform action on that element, you will write a method, simple method, public void. So suppose you are doing a click action, you write click on the element, then curly bracket, and you will call driver dot find element, and you will just pass the element name. You're not going to write this part, right part. So that reference is element, that element you will write, and the action type you will write. So what action you want to do on that element. This is the plain page object model. So the element and the methods. That's a plain page object model. But most of the people, some people will use this approach, and most of the people will use page factory class. Page factory class is, so what is page factory? Page factory is a class provided by Selenium. So it supports the page object model design pattern. So here you are going to use @find by annotation and init elements method, which is used to initialize all the web page elements. Basically, init elements method, that means initialize the elements. That's the meaning of that. So this is the static method you will call from this class. So page factory class, there is a space should not be present. So it's a one class, page factory, it's a class name dot static method you will call. Then automatically, whatever the elements you created in this particular page, all of them will be initialized. So wherever you need them. So that's the init elements method. So this is how you can do that. How to identify, how to use @find by annotation. @find by annotation is used in page factory to locate and declare web elements using different locators. So below is an example of declaring an element using @find by. See this, @find by. So bracket ID equal to element ID. So web element. So this is the @find by annotation. So similarly, we can use @find by with a different location strategies to find web elements and perform actions on them. This is the @find by annotation. And then, so class name. So these are the locators, right? Class name, CSS, name, XPath, tag name, link text, partial link text, IED. All these locators you can use. So this is one of the IED locators and IED value of that. And then, so this locator belongs to which element? That element you are specifying here. The element. So see, the data type of element is a web element. An element name you give. So this is the pattern you're going to write in the page class. That's a page factory concept. So then init elements method, you will initialize that. Mostly you will use this one. This you will call inside the constructor. You will create a constructor for every class. That constructor inside, you will call init elements method. So init elements method you are going to call. And so this is how you will call. So the public constructor name, constructor inside, you will write page factory dot init elements method, driver comma this, and then all the annotations. So that's this page factory concept and respective methods. See that. So these elements you identified with an annotation, but you can observe here, you are getting directly web element here. You don't need to write again driver.find element here. That's the advantage with the page factory concept. Plain page object model, you have to write a driver object and find element method you have to call. But here, you don't need to do that. You are getting element directly. Element dot method you can write here. So that's the difference between plain page object model and page factory concept. Okay, any questions? There is a cache lookup, one so simple concept. So what will happen is, every time, so cache lookup annotation, if you include above the element, so that will cache that element instead of looking for every time in the DOM, and it will cache it and it will take from here there only. So that the speed of looking for element is faster. So that's the cache lookup purpose. Okay. So any questions before? No, this is the structure of hybrid framework, hybrid automation framework that we have 3 phases: development, execution phase, and CI phase, CI/CD pipeline phase. So these are the 3 phases. First phase is the crucial. So execution is nothing, right? First, writing the code, developing the code is a very tough choice. So here there are different components will be there. So what are the different components? So let's see here. So we have a page class, page component. So your framework will be designed with a different packages. First, you will create a Maven project. Maven project below, you have a predefined structure you will get. Predefined structure. Till now, we created a Java project. Generally, in the real time, nobody uses a Java project. So everybody uses a Maven project or a Gradle project. What is Maven? What is Gradle? I'll tell you. So be patient, and we'll discuss that also. So in the Maven project or a particular folder inside, these are the packages. Page objects, one package. Test cases, another package. Utilities, another package. Test data, another package. Resources inside your logs, so your properties files, everything in the resource. So like you have a structure in the Maven project. SRC test resources, SRC test, SRC main resources, or SRC test Java, SRC to main Java, like that a folder structure will be there, predefined structure. That structure inside you will create a packages, all this, each one here, that's the packages. Reports one folder, logs another folder, and this pom.xml is the heart of any Maven project. Heart of any Maven project. So all your dependencies, plugins, everything, so you will find in the pom.xml. So dependencies is nothing but till now you have seen our Selenium dependencies we added, we downloaded and added to the project, right? So you don't need to do that. You don't need to download any dependencies for the Maven project. You just need to declare them in the pom.xml. Just a declaration. Automatically Maven will download them to the project. That's advantage with the Maven. And the testng.xml you know already, right? Testng.xml is a different suite files you can create. So you have a groups suite file, and you can create a sanity suite file, or you can create a regression suite file. Like that, you can create a multiple suite files. You can create multiple suite files. So all the suite files you can create, and which one you want to run, you can specify that. So that's the different suite files. And then we have a, so after all these reports, once you run this, you'll get a reports here under reports folder. Also logs you will get, right? So that's the this complete folder structures of any hybrid framework, any framework. You always see, so the page objects is going to be page-wise page classes. Test cases means each page you can create one test case also. And this test case inside you have a test annotations or different testng annotations you can write inside each test case, and you can include that in the testng.xml to run that. So utilities, always any framework you see, there will be utilities. Utilities means WebDriver utilities, Excel file utilities, right? And JavaScript utilities, and different utilities, nothing but a reusable methods. Already methods, they already created them and you can reuse them. First, anywhere you go, understand the reusable methods. What are the methods are there? What methods I can use? If you don't understand the methods, reusable methods, you cannot write the code because you cannot use your own methods there. They have created wrapper methods on top of Selenium methods. Those things, you have to understand them first. Anywhere you go, first understand their code and see that what is happening, all those things. Then you can utilize them in your test cases. So if you understand them, you can understand here. You can write the code here. If you don't understand these utilities, you cannot call them here. So then test data also, you can read the test data from Excel sheets. I'll show you how to read the data from Excel sheet. Then, so properties files, log4j files, all these files also available. We'll see that. So this is the framework structure. So let's go in detail. Okay, so I'll give you. So we have one base class will be there, base package, not base class. Base package inside you have a test base class. This test base class decides okay which browser you want to run, so which URL you want to open, and opening the browser and URL and closing the browsers and everything is available here in the test base class. So then page class is one component, and config I already told you resources we are going to keep them. Data another component, utilities another component. So here extra you have a listeners. Listeners is another component. Okay, listeners is another component. That listeners will help you how to implement logs, reports, and customization you can do. Customized reports you can create them. So we are going to use a extent reports. Basically, extent reports, very nice reports you will get, like pie charts and each failed test case, also screenshot you will get, logs you will get there itself. So that's such a nice reports you can generate. So in this, through these listeners. So basically, listeners will listen to TestNG behavior, how TestNG is behaving. So that this we are using a TestNG listeners here to generate the nice reports, and you have to implement them because the listeners are the interfaces in TestNG. You have to implement them in your own class. How to implement them is, it's all depends on you only. So that implementation, you can do that, and however you want those methods. This basically interface means I already told. What is mean by interface? What does it mean by interface?
It is an abstract type where we declare the behavior of the classes.
It has a
It is similar to class. It contains
That's it.
constants, method signatures, default methods, static methods.
Okay, so so fine. So an interface contains only abstract methods, constants, default, and static methods. So in any interface, they have abstract methods. Abstract methods means what? They don't have implementation.
No definition, only declaration.
So only declaration will be there, no implementation. But you have to implement them. That implementation you are going to do in this listeners class. Okay, so that's what happening. How you want your reports, you can implement them here. I'll show you that, how to implement. So these are the test cases as I already mentioned. Okay. And so this is the hybrid framework, means this is the combination of multiple frameworks like TestNG framework, data-driven framework, page object model, design pattern, all this combination is called hybrid framework. Okay. These are in detail, I'm just writing here. Okay. It's up to you. Again, same, I know this one I detailed, I have written here. Okay, other than that, nothing. So anyone you explain this, they will ask, can you explain me your framework structure? They will ask. You should be able to explain that. What are the components you have? So each component, what classes are there? That class, what is there inside that class? You should be able to tell them. That's what the meaning, explain your framework structure means. You have to explain that complete framework structure. So, yeah. So any questions before moving on to the general interview questions? This is one of the question asked in the, I've only faced this question. Did you implement interface in your automation? So what is the answer you have to give? Yes. Where? The reason I'm giving here, the explanation I'm giving. We have implemented iTest listener interface in our custom class. All the iTest interface, iTest listener interface methods are implemented in custom listener class. So iTest listener is the interface name. So all these iTest listener methods are these are the on start to, on test failed but with success percentage, on test failure, on test skipped, on test start, on test success. So these are the methods. These abstract methods we can implement in our own class, custom listener class. Custom listener class. So that's the reason you can use custom listener class. And that's the answer you have to give and explain that. And finish another method. And finish is another method. So these are all the abstract methods you are going to implement your own class. That's the answer you have to give. So make sure you remember all these methods. If you're not able to, it's easy to remember also. It's not complicated. On test failure, on test skipped, on test success, on test start, on finish, on start. These are the simple methods also. All those testing related methods. Next. So next interview question. So this is the common interview question, another common interview question. Where you have used Java OOPS concepts in your automation framework, explain in detail. So this is so we have a Java OOPS concepts like encapsulation, inheritance, polymorphism, abstraction. These are the 4 principles we have, right? So each principle where you have implemented in Selenium. See how they are linking the Java in your Selenium. If you don't know Java, that's the problem. If you're not clear on Java. So encapsulation, so where you are using in your automation. See, every page class follows the encapsulation concept. What is meant by encapsulation first?
Binding class and methods together.
Binding class are.
Data and the methods where
Data.
as a single.
So data and code. So you are binding together. That's encapsulation. That is encapsulation. But here, what is that data and what is the methods here? So I already explained, right?
Data and variables.
So your page elements are variables data. And methods means the respective methods of that element. So the page objects are declared as a private and respective element methods are defined as a public. That's a page object model concept follows the encapsulation process. Next, inheritance. So a test-based class is extending to every test-ng class. So many classes extends. The extends means inheritance. So one class extends to other class. See here, one search test extends to test base. That means all the parent class properties, this class can use it. That's inheritance. So here, so test-based class, every page class also will extend to WebDriver utility classes. And like this, all these are examples. Okay. So home page extends WebDriver utility. So this is a multi-level inheritance, basically. And next, interface concept. So WebDriver is in an interface. So WebDriver abstract methods are implemented in remote WebDriver class. We are overriding the WebDriver methods in the remote WebDriver class. That is method overriding concept. So wait is an interface again. JavaScript executor is an interface. Action is an interface. Takes a screenshot is an interface. See, all these are interfaces. You tell that. So these are all interfaces. Next, polymorphism. So there is two types of polymorphism, right? Compile time polymorphism, runtime polymorphism. So how can you achieve runtime polymorphism in Selenium means this is the first line. WebDriver driver equal to new Chrome driver or new Firefox driver, new Edge driver, anything. This line follows the runtime polymorphism concept. How it is? How it is following? So this is the parent type. Parent type, that variable pointing to that implementing class objects. So that is the one which follows the runtime polymorphism. Method overloading. So actions class, so methods are following method overloading. Even expected conditions class methods are following method overloading. See that? Click without parameters, click with web element. Context click with web element. Expected conditions class methods also following that. Element to be clickable, by dot locator value. Element to be clickable, web element element. So all this following method overloading concept. Even frame method also following method overloading. Implicitly wait also following method overloading. So these are the all different OOPS concepts used in Selenium. Okay, so that's all the interview questions and theoretical wise of a framework. So let's come